Welcome to Above the Garage. Hi, friends. Welcome to our fourth episode of our Shining Girls discussions. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
I am Melissa.
Hi, I'm Diana.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
And I'm Kate. Before we get into this episode, I just want a couple back notes of things that we've realized from previous episodes. First of all, a couple hours after we published our episode 3 podcast, I felt like an absolute idiot because I realized that I had overanalyzed the number of drinks that Dan was drinking in that bar on that receipt and completely missed the date that was on the receipt. So just for clarification, that L ride definitely took place overnight or in the early morning hours of April 23rd. But we're pretty close to what Helen had said anyway, that we were around the 22nd. Oh, also, somehow he bought those 33 drinks between leaving the office at 9:10 p.m. and paying his bill at 12:36 a.m. So it's even more impressive than I thought. We also took a closer look into the coffee cup that Dan's coffee cup changes into, which is from the mid-20th century, called Fairwinds by Alfred Meekin. And interestingly, the figures on it of liberty and justice, probably post about this on Twitter, so come check us out on Twitter. But it's interesting that the cup is kind of about liberty and justice as he's reading the article about Julia's body being found and this whole chain of events with Kirby getting started. That is all. Does anyone have any other previous episode? Oh, Cantini. Okay, yeah. Sorry. We're going to talk a little bit about the reference to Cantini in the Leo conversation later on when it comes up towards the end of the episode. All right. So on to episode 4, which I think is the only episode that is actually taking place in one day for all the characters. Do we agree on that? Did I miss anything?
Melissa and I were trying to figure out something about the timeline, and Harper's timeline doesn't kind of go linear. Melissa, you were figuring out that how?
I noticed so far that Harper has had 4 changes of clothes.
Okay.
There are 3 different jackets and 3 shirts. In episode 1, when we see that he visits Kirby, he's in the same clothes as later in the episode 4 when he visits her in the hospital.
So he visits, you mean when he visits her as a child? He's in the same outfit as when
exactly.
Oh, interesting.
And in the episode 2, when he comes home with the newspapers and he drinks coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and when he reads about Julia's mother, he's with a brown jacket and a light brown shirt when he meets Dan outside the Magdalene house in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when he goes to Dan's house in episode 3, but Harper doesn't have the same clothes when he talked to Freddie in episode 3.
Oh.
And he knows his name already, which made me understand that Harper is a future Harper.
Okay.
He already knew some things about Freddie.
Yeah.
That he didn't know when he went to the dance house.
All right. So we're living 4 days in Harper's life and 2 weeks so far-ish. All right. So the 13th to the 23rd in Kirby and Dan's world and 4 separate days in Harper's world, it seems. That's really interesting, Melissa. Thank you. Okay. So back to episode 4. And initially, actually, we go through a few different years, right? They show us the body in the grass across from the baseball field in 1972. A woman's wearing a long floral dress, maybe, and there's something in the grass beside the body I couldn't identify. 1974 is the nurse in the hospital, and they talk a little bit about these people later. 1984 is a woman in a sequin gold dress and black and gold skirt, gold purse, and a car garage. And then 1986, we're at the beach, where Kirby's clearly been dragged a long way. Is that a tennis ball beside it?
Yes.
Maybe for her dog? Yeah.
Yes.
Her dog named Tokyo, by the way. I read the article later. So we have a name for the dog now.
And I love that. I love that because that's the name of the dog in the book.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Yeah, oh my God. I need to know, where is that dog?
I know. I've been waiting for the dog. I was like, are they going to cut the dog out of the story? It's such a good part. Yeah. So no, they're not cutting the dog out of the story.
Cool. Animal control. Fine.
Yeah, I would have. All right, so now we're starting our day. Harper's in the dark blue jacket, light blue shirt at the scene of the crime. and in the hospital, not the same outfit as you said he was wearing when he found out from Dan that someone had survived at the train. Rachel's in her gold cheetah coat with smeared makeup, and Harper tries to just sneak by her, but he gets caught by a nurse and ends up sitting right next to her, which pisses her off. It would me too. I don't think I would have said it. I would have just moved, but I love that she said it, because anytime something like that happens, I'm like, why? There's so many
It's
seats.
annoying.
It's so annoying. But he's not bothered and refuses to move. He does manage to befriend her a little bit, and Rachel talks it through him a bit. Why was she at the beach by herself with that stupid dog? And then when she gets up to demand to see the doctor again, he uses the distraction to go find Kirby. Well, Sharon back then. And luckily a nurse comes in before he can do anything.
I was just going to ask, why can't Harper just go back in time and kill her again?
I think I don't know if you guys got the scene the same way, but I think he went back after he found out that someone survived to see who had survived, because he still doesn't know who it was.
But still, why can't he just go back?
I got the feeling too that he wants to get to the bottom of this. He doesn't want to just go back and kill her better. He wants to know what went wrong, so he doesn't do the same mistake again later, maybe.
Yeah. It seems like there's more to him than just the straight up like this is agitating him a lot. When he encounters Kirby later, he's way more agitated than she is, which is like insane, because she should be freaking out, but instead he's like, how did this happen? Why do you look like that?
Did you notice that he was saying that he has been on the site before? Because he says first are the intensive cases, and then
he knew a lot about the hospital.
Yeah, and he didn't seem like he was making something up to get to her. He said he was on this side before, saying he had either had a loss or he was on the other side like Kirby was.
He could have been the patient, or it was someone he cared about. We're still trying to figure out, I think, if he actually like cares about anyone like Leo. I can't.
Yeah,
maybe he does.
He wears a ring too, though. I don't know if you guys noticed. And
big ring.
Yeah.
Okay, so the nurse comes in and scares him off before he can do anything, if he was going to. But I kind of don't feel like he was going to take the easy way out and just pull the plug or anything. I don't know. We won't know. So then we go to the opening credits, where Kimberly, I think your ribbon is a measuring tape. I have no idea why, but I saw some numbers on it.
I'm sure we'll find out.
I bet. Kirby's in a nice dark teal button down, making eye contact with Dan, who nods at her. He's presenting their whole serial killer case to the whole office, but she can't be in there because nobody knows that she's anything more than an archivist. They don't know that she's the source. And Marcus, though, does walk in, and he asks how he could be so sure if he hasn't run it by the police. And Dan tells him that his source heard the stolen voicemail tapes and confirmed that it was her attacker, but she won't let them publish it. He admits that the voicemail tapes, or the answering machine tapes, were stolen, which seems like it might be problematic. And then Marcus looks like she didn't tell him that part. So she didn't tell him that part. Okay. No. So Dan's wearing a dark brown jacket, light gray, brown, green shirt, black shirt under during this episode. I feel like keeping track of the clothes is kind of important. Like Melissa mentioned, figure out what day it is.
I was just going to say that I think the clothes are so similar. I think obviously they did that very much on purpose, because the clothes are extremely similar.
Well, it's funny when also that they're similar between Dan and Harper. Like when they see each other, they're wearing almost the same clothes. So did Harper do this twice just so he could dress like him? Or I don't know.
Just wanted to note that the Kirby seems more confident again with the new chain, the longer hair, and he wears something lighter and something more making her more beautiful and not hiding her body. So there was definitely a change with the last hairdo.
Right. I hated that one outfit in the last, Kimberly and I discussed it in the last episodes. All right, as the meeting breaks up, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Dan had a moment of clearly not feeling well, which makes sense after his 33 drinks.
Not surprised.
Yeah, no, but he just looks really sick. And then he's looking at his arm cut when Kirby comes in with a picture of the planetarium key, and Dan's feeling a bit snippy towards that. And he asked her if she put Marcus up to the meeting, and she clearly has no idea that Marcus came to the meeting. And I love how Dan says, you two just never talk. He believes it at this point, right? And he's annoyed with her coming to him with keys whose dates don't match up. Tells her if she wants to be useful, go pick up the answering machine tapes. he's got to catch on pretty soon that the dates aren't adding up to things and start paying more attention to that.
Yeah. Did you notice also that this new outfit of Lizzie's makes her eyes look insane?
Because her eyes are insane. I love them. It's good color on you, Lizzie.
I wrote she looks stunning. So I love the hair on her. I love the color and the length now. So
nobody notice that her hair grew? I guess
no.
It's just another one of her reality changes that nobody else notices. Yeah. She's always had long hair.
Jin Suk didn't even notice it, and it happened kind of
as she's watching.
As she's walking.
All right. Marcus checks in with Kirby and asks if the Francis pictures worked out, and she appears to be kind of pissed at him for going to the meeting, which I don't think is necessarily fair since she's not telling him much. And he says he's coming with her to get the tapes, which she's not thrilled about, but he then tells her he'll fill her in on the meeting and where Abby left everything. So she's like, all right, come on. And on the train, they're starting to get along more, and he's taking pictures of her and just being silly. And it's the first time you've really seen them friendly since before they were married. And
that was really cute.
Yeah, it was cute. She was cute. So coworker says he talked to the detective on the Catherine Moore's case, and then Abby comes out. She's like, Maddie from the Tribune, which is, a paper that's competing with them, called, and seems like the retired detective that his coworker talked to gave all the women's names, and so they don't have the scoop anymore unless they move really quickly because the Tribune's on it now. So that's frustrating. And Dan says, all right, we'll just print tonight. 2 paragraphs for each victim. At least get that detective to confirm the details on Catherine Moore's case. But now there's an even more urgent sense of urgency to getting this out there. All right, so Kirby and Marcus are at the shop to pick up the tapes. And this place is like really secure. It's got 3 security cameras. And Marcus is asking what this guy's deal is. And I don't think we've found out yet what that's about, but they don't usually include that line unless there's a reason. And then she's reading the transcript he gives her inside the shop, and something stops her, and she turns back and asks him to play the tape. And so you're playing through the answering machine again, and you hear a tornado warning. So Marcus reveals it sounds like an air raid, and they ask briefly about where he served, and that was the first Cav Oshawa Valley, which is 1966 in Vietnam. So Marcus must be at least like 45 from that clue.
Yeah.
But
also 45.
Yeah,
sorry. Pretty good for 45.
I know. That's why I was like, wait, he was in Vietnam? That doesn't seem to add up to me, but only 92.
5 in Vietnam.
If he was 18,
20.
But I think that first cavalry has to do with air strikes, airmobiles. So don't you have to train? Like there's like a little bit of training. I was trying to figure that out, but I haven't gotten to that part yet. But did you notice that he said, when she said about the tornado in 1990, Marcus tells Kirby, you were pretty pissed when I went to cover that. So they were already together. But she started working at the Sun Times in 89 because she told in an earlier episode that she had started working there 3 years before 92. So I was just kind of putting that together.
At least together for the 2 years. And then they realize that on the answering machine tape, she's listening to a recording of herself saying the thing she's about to say before she says it. Kind of like she also went through the picture situation like that in her house, the Polaroids being taken of her in that moment before she was there. Now we flash to the guy in Kirby's former apartment, 2B, that she was knocking on at the end of episode 1. And Harper attacks him in a dark jacket and a light shirt. He says that, and the guy says that he's lived here for 4 years and some old dude lived here before him. Harper gets really agitated when his reality is not being what it should be, right? Or what he.
I think this is also a hint that she can change his reality.
Yes.
Because obviously, if it was like before, she'd be living there. And yeah, if it was, I guess if it was like the episode before, she would still be living there.
Right. And other people go along with her changes and he doesn't know them, sort of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's the only one that doesn't get it, understand.
So Dan just understands intrinsically that she's moved and she's married and blah, blah, blah. But Harper is not being caught up on these changes.
I think that the moment maybe she survived, she was able to like change the reality, and every change that happens maybe from that point, and that's why maybe he doesn't know or doesn't find her or something, and that's why she is alive.
In terms of her reality shifts, like it was weird that she had people when she was being attacked, but she was alone.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get to see that scene because I would like to know if this is a reality shift or a comment on humans or what it is exactly. So outside of the shot, Marcus asked if she's sure that she'd ever gotten calls that like Julia did. And Kirby admits, I didn't know what it was. So now she's remembered that she did have an experience like that. So she flashes back to a club that Rachel's working at, and she remembers picking up the phone there and hearing her mom saying things right before she said them in reality. So this has happened to her, but...
You didn't mention the thing written on the wall with the sign. She goes to the club because I guess she's remembering the call, but she's also remembering what was written on the wall. That's what she starts looking for. Sharon's right. Gone like smoke, something like that. Right. Someone can correct me.
Yeah.
Which is something about a song she used to sing. So that's when she noticed that he had been there, and then she remembers the
phone call. Right.
I was like trying to see if there was a change in the mirror or something, and that is when I stopped and saw the logo there, and I have
her smell, isn't it?
Logo. Yeah. And I went and looked for the poster or something. Yeah, it was the same logo.
What's the logo?
Where the logo of
Lizzie's Lizzie's movie that she did called Her Smell.
Her Smell. So she was in that movie. She was the lead of a band called Something She. It was a punk rock band, and it was around the 90s. Like the movie set in the 90s.
Cool.
The band was already like falling from grace by that time. So I guess that around 80s, right? The band was very popular, right. So it's pretty cool. And actually the director of the movie sent me a direct message on Instagram and said that it was Lizzie's idea to post to put that sticker there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Also because that character, like Sharon, gives me a lot of Becky something vibes. The character's name.
I was just gonna say that I looked up the song lyrics for that song, Leonard Cohen. The song is called Ballad of the Absent Mare. And I don't know, I was just thinking like to do with that little horsey Pegasus dude. I thought it was funny that it's about like a horse. The last lyrics of the song are, but my darling says, Leonard, just let it go by that old silhouette on the great western sky. So I pick out a tune and they move right along and they're gone like the smoke and they're gone like this song.
Interesting.
Oh, and you noticed that Kirby acts more like the mom of those two. And she's like, and her mom teases her about her serious job and all the things. It's like, it was a weird mom-daughter, especially since Kirby seems to have grown up in this club, that she was turning out to be so serious and like going for a career.
Right. Maybe she and Freddie have more in common than we realized.
I also noticed maybe to make parallels with Handmaid's Tale, the relationship between Holly and June. Like there was a scene like that. Like
exactly.
Exactly like that. Like Holly was like she wasn't happy about June being an editor.
Right.
Being in an
exact
office.
Same. Yeah. Why are you gonna work in an office? Why are you wasting your life? It was the exact same kind of it's funny. I like it. So then she remembers the call that she got at the club where she's hearing the feedback and Rachel's reaction to it before it's happening. She ended up just dismissing that because it's so crazy that you can't really sort your mind around it. But she's remembering now that the exact same thing that happened to Julia happened to her, where she's...
I don't know how you dismiss that because like I'd be checking myself into some kind of institution.
Immediately.
Someone drugged me? What's going on? I need help.
You walk straight out of the club into the psychiatric ward.
Yeah, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, no, you should. That's the appropriate reaction. But I think that she would prefer to just live her life and pretend that didn't happen. However, it did. So Marcus asks her why she didn't tell Rachel about it, and Kirby says that it would have sounded crazy. So meanwhile, Dan is interviewing the victims' families and friends, and he cannot find a common denominator between the women. He's asking, one woman about something about the last woman. Did you have kids then? No, you didn't have kids. He just can't find anything in common until he's talking to Summer's girlfriend, and he finds the same design that he found on a mirror that was found in one of the women. And also he's drinking throughout the day every chance that he can, like downing glasses of wine at Summer's house. Probably helps with the hangover. Did you guys have any more comments about him talking to the women? I didn't have much there.
Yes, I got that Summer changed a lot before it happened, just like Julia. So she was probably a strong woman before, and then all this stuff happened, and she didn't tell her girlfriend because she thought she would think she's crazy or something. Because Kirby did the same. She didn't tell because she thought maybe the people will think I'm going crazy. And it never made any sense to her girlfriend, and now she's dead.
I think that goes with the first line, the beginning line that Harper says, at first you find its shine and then you take it away. So I think that's kind of what he's doing, kind of breaking these women down as he stalks them, maybe.
I took notes a little bit about their careers. So we got Catherine had like a career in politics. Kirby / Sharon was she was working at the newspaper, and I read in the newspaper later when they made a little description of the girls. They say that she was a clerk at the Tribune and was starting to escalate there. Anne was in real estate, and she got a license, and then Harper kills her. And Karen was a nurse, but she also played the piano. She was really good at playing the piano, right? Julia, social worker, and astronomer. But what I see is like Dan is like, no, we don't have anything in common. These girls, what they have is actually the fact that they are called shining girls is because they have like really good careers. But it's not like necessarily that they do something, discover something,
right.
But they are doing really, really well. And at the moment that they are like maybe reaching that peak, he kills them. That's what I took.
You're
from
right.
All of that.
That is very significant similarities. You're totally right. And actually, in an interview, Lizzie described Shining Girls as a person who's at a moment in their life when they're fully becoming themselves, when they're either realizing a dream or a goal, or they're coming out of their shell and becoming more confident, when they're living their best life. And I think that each of the girls, unfortunately, Harper's victims in the show, are all at this moment in their lives where things are either crystallizing for them or they're becoming the person they want to be. It's a big moment in their lives. And that to me is what the shine is. So
yeah. Harper kills Ginny exactly at the night that she finally does her big speech, right? So we actually saw that in the first episode, that he kills her right then when she's at her peak moment.
Yeah, and it looks like she might be like discovering something too in the telescope. Hope we find out more about that. All right, so then they're riding the elevator back up to the newspaper office, and Marcus tells Kirby that he doesn't think she should tell Dan everything that she just remembered about Sid's. The place called Sid's?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know that. I hopefully he's just trying to protect her, but I think that the best way to protect her at this point is to help her solve the murder, and it's really making her come alive. But anyway, it doesn't last long because the door's open and everything's blowing up in the office. She learns that they're going to press already, and Dan's like, where have you been? You've been gone for 6 hours. And he pulls her into a conference room, and Marcus is staring unhappily after them. Also, it was funny when the coworker is like, Kirby's back. I need her to pull like 100 clips. I'm like, you work for her now, biatch. You don't know it, but she's not pulling any more clips for you. So then they're in the conference room together, and he's showing her the rest of Summer's mirror set. And then they realize the women don't know each other. They're connected by the items he's taking from each one and putting in the other. Summer's mirror is in Margot Zell. Karen's nurse pin is Willie Rose. Catherine Moore's campaign pin was in Karen. And Julia was a social worker, but she's also Catholic, so it's probably the devotional card found in Anne Lauer. But Anne Lauer was killed in 1985 and Julia in 1990. So he had to have taken it from her over 5 years before he killed her. So there's a lot of time inconsistencies here that they need to start focusing on.
They missed a big one as well, which I think would have raised more suspicion than the 5-year one. It was the 1983 campaign pin. It ended up inside the woman that was killed in 1974.
Okay, so that's impossible. Thank you. That's very
Exactly,
good.
it's impossible. And I'm surprised they didn't mention that.
Yeah, I hope they mention it in like the next minute after the cutscene, because that's huge. Did you guys?
Because obviously the other one you can kind of play it off as, oh, he's just been watching her for 5 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one you can't.
There's no way.
And obviously as well as Ginny's, you can't.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. How I mean 20 years he can't have gotten the key 20 years before if it didn't exist. It's a big loop, a big plot hole for them, and they just went right over it.
Well, I feel like when it's just a key, you can maybe try to write it off. Like there was a key at this planetarium that they forgot about.
Yeah, but she said the comet or whatever that was on the keyring, displayed on the keyring, hasn't been discovered.
Okay, all right, then never mind. You cannot dismiss that. No. Very good point. All right, so they need to stop dismissing this stuff.
And that's when she agrees to be on the front page, right?
Yeah, so then they take it to Abby, and she says he's been watching us for years. He knew all about us. And then she decides to let them publish her firsthand account. I'm the better story. That's what I want for this, which is very exciting for everyone. And then the three of them are walking to the press conference, and Kirby remembers Jenny, that she needs to, like, she's the only one living other than her that might need a warning about all of this, and tells Dan that she should go tell her before all this goes down. And Harper is creepily watching the whole interaction. I was surprised they were willing to let her go another direction when they need her at the press conference, but
yeah. That whole scene was a bit weird because they didn't say that she should come with them.
Yeah.
And it looks like they went alone, and suddenly she's there. And
she's like way behind them.
Yeah.
What's she doing? Thinking and walking slowly. She can't think and walk. And he's like, hurry up, we gotta go. And then he's like, okay, yeah, go do that other thing. But whatever. I really like I like how much he cares about her, and I like their relationship. But she does go by herself to Jenny's, and Harper follows her, and Jenny's listening a little bit more so now, but still dismissive of taking better care of herself. She's a little inconsistent, in fact, because at the end of the episode she says just because something has happened yet doesn't mean it won't. It always takes looking at something a few times before it makes sense, which is a good analogy for this entire show. But
it's definitely a good analogy for the next scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But previous to that, she's been kind of rejecting, this isn't happening to me. What's happening to you isn't happening to me, So it's kind of a weird.
I'm not you, is
statement.
what she says. I'm not.
Right.
She says, I'm not you, which for me, it sounded kind of dismissive.
Yeah.
Just because it happened to you doesn't mean it's going to happen to me.
Right.
Which was weird.
And then she goes on and said, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't. It's like so inconsistent.
What are you saying, Jenny? Yeah.
It's like she's a medium and suddenly has a mind
revelation.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, she goes outside. She buys the red umbrella that she has in the first episode. So further evidence that scene did not happen when we felt like it did in the first episode. And unless there's some further events in Time Shift that my brain is not capable of.
I've been around that red umbrella since I figured out she bought it on April 23rd.
Right.
Because she's going to go to the midnight showing, but she's not wearing the same clothes. When we see her, she already has the umbrella. She has a mint green cardigan, and she has already lost her keys. And when Kirby goes talk to her here on the 23rd, the keys were already lost. She already had her replacement. But that first scene when we see her and she gets locked on the roof, I guess it was made for us to realize that she didn't have her keys. Yeah. So I like it just in April 23rd, like was she I have a hole there.
or she really lost them the first time, and now Harper is going after her and taking her key at this very night. Could this be because he's still somewhere around, I guess. He's not shown anymore there when she buys the umbrella, but he could have followed her and got the key. I don't know.
I was confused when Ginny You know how she said, "Oh, my keys. I've still got my keys." Was that?
That confused me too.
I thought it was the replacement. Yeah.
Yeah, she lost them.
Yeah, but it was weird how she said that though. Like,
Yeah.
I've still got mine.
As if as if they weren't talking about the original set that she lost, right?
Yeah.
That was very confusing to me too. So I just dismissed it. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to show when she brought the umbrella if you're not supposed to kind of try to put it together, because it's very specific. They show her buying that umbrella, the same umbrella that he leaves on the sill. I mean, obviously we know that he travels in time, so that can obviously change, but I don't think Jin Suk's timeline in the first episode is parallel to what we see of Kirby and Dan.
The only other note I wanted to make is that there are these signs all over the planetarium for the Galactic Collisions show, their new show that's coming on April 27th. So I'm thinking maybe that's the night that she gets murdered. Maybe that's the opening for that is April 27th, but I don't know yet.
Because she says something about one of the times she's talking to Kirby, she says something about the show coming up. And I'm pretty sure that when we see it, she's wearing like a long skirt. It looks like it's the opening night. It's, excuse me, it's an event, but I missed that date. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So it's only like, what, 5 days after or something?
Yeah, it's 23rd now. So they have 4 days to save her if that's what their goal is.
I mean, the only other notice for me was that I understand that Ginny is like so dismissive of it, because I mean, the photo is from 20 years ago and there's her key. Why should she believe any of this?
Yeah, and there are no other clues of time travel for her. So I would also probably have to dismiss it, but I'd still be paranoid as fuck. So that night, and Dan's watching the papers run, and he and Kirby are both in the byline as staff writers. So it's exciting for Kirby.
I feel like he looks kind of worried about
her,
about it coming out, even though Harper obviously has already worked it out. But it's cute that he's worried about her.
Kirby is now peering in the door of Laundryland because Jin Suk has just urged her to go back and look again. And she breaks in and she sees all the washing machines are covered up. There's clear tarps everywhere. It's clearly going under a renovation. And she finds the box of matchbooks for the Be Happy bar. So I guess it's being converted into the bar now. Very quickly now. Harper shows up behind her in his dark brown jacket, light brown shirt, and he's agitated, like really agitated, far more agitated than she is. Really upset that she exists.
Confused boy.
Yeah, and he doesn't like being confused, it seems, despite time travel. He's upset. You don't look right. What's wrong with your hair? I stopped by your place. Someone else was living there. When did you move? You didn't know Jenny. I know you didn't. None of you knew each other. How did you find her? Or did she find you? Yeah, maybe that's it, because she's smarter than you are. I don't like you like this. And then he says, remember me from Eldridge Street? And she's like, you gave me the horse. He says it was a Pegasus. It has wings. Horses are just hooves and tails. And she's like, you look the same as when she was a kid. Because at first I was like, wait, you didn't see him. And then I was like, oh, they're talking about when she was a kid. That makes sense. And he says, you look different. You look nothing like I left you. I killed you. You shouldn't be here. And he chokes her, or he attacks her, and she stabs him in the leg, like very badass, and slices his face. I love the backwards like knife move. I just think that's the coolest move. I'm gonna have to practice that. And then he slams her against the washing machines, and it changes the wallpaper, and he's further agitated. Did you do that? And she does it again. He does it again, and it changes again, and he says, this can't be happening. This can't be happening here. And one last time, and the glass breaks, and she finds herself inside the Be Happy bar, and it's empty when she runs out, but full of people when she looks back. Be Happy bar cocktails. So I guess Dan will now think that it's been the Be Happy bar all along. So they've lost a little evidence here. And I also think, like, Kimberly, that you mentioned in a previous episode that you thought his reality should change like it did with the coffee cup when he saw the photos. But what he says here implies that his reality never changes unless he's in the house. Because he's like, this shouldn't be happening here.
Yeah, so I think this also points to it being clear that she is the one doing it and not him.
Yeah.
And he can only do it in the house because the house is somehow doing the travel with him. It's like his time machine. the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool if you're not a
Yeah.
psychopathic murderer. I think it could be fun.
Did you notice that Harper is much more creepier than a normal killer?
Yes.
It is because we know that Harper is the killer, because he really seems like a normal person when he talks.
Yeah, he does.
Jamie isn't making any particular creepy faces. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you just wanted to go there. You missed the part where she rips open his shirt before.
Yeah. No, we're gonna.
There's a mirror. Okay.
I figured that was gonna be a long conversation, so I just.
Oh yeah.
And I have a note about the Sharon Curie change.
Oh, cool.
Name change.
Yeah.
I think the name change was not just because to mislead journalists and curious people.
Yeah.
About her attack. I think Curie does it as a way to cope with all the trauma, and try to separate herself from the person who had the attack, and this new person, and try to move on,
Yeah, it's kind of like Handmaid's Tale a little bit.
Yeah,
the June versus the Offred. Like, names are pretty important in establishing who you are when you've changed and such, like
here Kirby is trying to move on.
I like that note. I wonder why she chose. I wonder if there was any more reason to choosing those names than she said to the detective.
I see it like she's shining again now. Don't you guys think, like, now that she's more sure of herself and getting closer, because that's what she wants, to find out who this guy is. She's kind of shining again too. That's also maybe why Harper's, I mean, obviously Harper's pissed off because things are not going the way that they're supposed to go.
So she also tears open his shirt, and we see a tattoo on his chest that I think Scarlett can go into detail about. It's telling.
Well, I was really confused yesterday when you guys were discussing about World War I and Leo, because I totally missed the fact that in that's episode 2, right?
Yeah.
He's talking in where Julia used to work with this guy. That's obviously Leo. It's not. I thought it was Pavel. So that, and I did hear that he mentions Cantonese. But when I researched, it was like a park in Chicago. So I figured, okay. But then I asked you guys yesterday, and Julia started mentioning about the Battle of Cantonese in World War I. So I started looking because the tattoo looked like an emblem. So I just started looking, and then eventually I found that the symbol that he has tattooed, it's pretty much the emblem of the Black Lions of Cantonese. And that's the 1st Battalion, 28th Infantry of the Army. And they fought in World War I. And in that Battle of Cantonese, that's when they get that name, the Black Lions of Cantonese. Like Julia said, I think in episode 3, was it? In the podcast, that she thinks, I think maybe Kate, you can explain a little bit that better, because I'm a little confused with what was Julia's theory.
So in that episode when he's talking to Leo, it's a little confusing for us because it clearly states it's 1990. So you can't even think, oh, this is time travel. But Harper is talking to Leo, who is seems to be a friend of some sort, about the gas and horses in Cantini. And yeah, I Googled it then, and using the words Cantini and like gas, you come up with this battle that happened in France in World War I. So he's talking as if he's been there, but Leo can't have been there unless he's time traveling with him. So Julia's theory is that he was indoctrinating this story into him because he was correcting him. I think he said the dogs were barking first before the horses. Yeah, so we think Harper's original time is World War I because of this conversation with Leo and the tattoo on him that is from the battalion that Scarlett just discussed. So that's a little bit of information for when he started, even though we're living
wonder
in the
when he
90s
stopped
now.
aging.
Yeah, I mean, how much time has passed? If it's only been 4 days, he's done a fair amount of stalking and killing in 4 days. So maybe not that much time has passed in his real life, like maybe it's only a year after he discovered the house or something. I don't know. I have no idea. but I'd like to learn more about who Leo is and why he's telling him the story and making him try to, like, it sounds like he was there when he wasn't.
I mean, if he had the radium girl with him in the house, we thought it was at the earlier time, right? So it can't be just a few years that he is in his house. Or is it because it looks like...
I just think because he can travel instantly throughout the years, we don't really know how many days of his real life this has all been going on for.
Well, the show hasn't shown the house per se the way that it's shown in the book.
Yeah,
because in the book, the time doesn't go. I just don't want to spoil too much. In the book, it doesn't go far that back to the Battle of Katmai was in May 28th, 1918.
Yeah, and
if I remember correctly, the book doesn't go back that far.
Right, and also the book starts out like with a heavy emphasis on the house. I don't think it takes long for you to learn a lot about the house in the book, but in the show, they've done it differently, and I don't know how much we're going to see about the house, but I love both. I love how they're doing the show, and it's different from the book.
The one note that I had at this scene was too that why didn't he got seen by the police when he went back to Kirby's crime scene? Because there were still police or
oh yeah, creepy guy.
Yeah, he just shows up and walks around at the blood.
Cool.
Yeah.
The police are not amazing in this show.
Yeah, sure.
Also, a side note, while we were going down we were chasing the tattoo last night. Yulia was doing a lot of awesome research. She also found the cup. I'm not sure that I credited her for that. She found the coffee cup. Also, Yulia is amazing. But first we found, we were trying to figure out what the tattoo was. And first she realized that it's the flag of the town and the local football club where Jamie Bell is from. So the Billingham Synthonia Football Club looks a lot like that too. And then we were like, wait, is that Jamie's real life tattoo? So we Googled that. And no, he does have a real life tattoo there, but it's the birth date of his son, I believe. So this tattoo was placed there for the show. And then, yeah, we got to the 1st Battalion. So good research, everybody.
A+ effort.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our 4th episode of Shining Girls. Come back next Tuesday for our discussion on the 5th episode of Shining Girls. And if you are a Handmaid's Tale fan, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow to discuss the deep dive into season 2, episode 9. Thanks for listening.